ask yourself the damn question. Is winning the only thing to you?
Sports today are not just played on the field. They're played every day, online, all over the world, by sports fans just like you.
Don't you dare breathe. That won't get you anywhere. If you don't think you're a winner, you don't belong here.
The Star Fantasy League Show puts you in control of your own team. Find out who to sit, who to start, how to play, and have your daily fantasy sports questions answered with your host, Jonathan Sprung, and co-host SFL CEO Zach Stanley and Nick Steblenko. The Star Fantasy League Show is on the air now.
Hello and welcome to the Star Fantasy League Show here on 105.5 The Team in Rochester. I am your host, Jonathan Sprung, joined, as always, by SFL CEO Zach Stanley.
3 days in a row with you lovely gentlemen. Isn't this fantastic?
I don't know. Is it Nick Steblenko?
I've been having a great time.
Have you?
John, you're the one that refers it to as the band.
Okay, hold on a second. Is this not the band? Am I confused?
No, it absolutely is. I'm just saying you shouldn't be surprised that I'm all for it as well. And I feel good about it.
I also feel
I got the teddy bear man next to me.
That is true. Teddy Bear 2, Nick Steblenko is also here, which means it's a good day. Which means you bring the happiness and the positivity to the show, and I balance you out with the absolute negativity.
I really should come up with my own line of apparel, TB2 wear, and then we'll take away the TB12
Just take away the one.
Yeah, just take it away.
How about you actually just buy a bunch of TB12 stuff and just put like tape over the one? That's a pretty good brand.
Well, it might work, but I think I'd like to create my own, and then on the back of the hat or the back of the shirt, I'd just put a big old face of Tom Brady with a slash through it and a circle around it,
It's only
no Brady.
Hold on. It's only appropriate if the picture you use includes a goat.
Yeah, actually, that would be a great one to use.
It has to be the modeling photo with the goat. If you haven't seen it, you're listening right now and you're very confused.
Google the goat.
Yeah, we've talked about it a million times. Google Tom Brady goat, and you will see.
TB2 sportswear coming to a store
I wonder
near
if you just Googled the goat and you went to images, whether it would come up in like the first page.
No chance. But you know what the funniest thing?
I think it's possible.
Do you know how the acronym
the goat.
You know the acronym for GOAT is greatest of all time. So if you actually type in Tom Brady greatest of all time, will it come up with Tom Brady holding a goat? No,
Nope.
How did you think that was going to be a thing?
It's possible. Look, they got this weird guy with a goat.
All right, we're done doing Google search. For some reason, we think that just Googling weird things during the show. We've done it like several times in a row now.
Well, but it works. I mean, I did learn personally that Tom Brady is a big fan of goats.
We all know that everybody that is doing radio is just surfing the internet.
Yeah, I actually believe that's true. The shows that actually record the audio and the video at the same time for a radio show, they're clearly sitting there at their desk Googling.
They relish opportunities to just look something up.
We totally just blew away our credibility. We have no credibility anymore.
What do you mean anymore?
Okay.
Fair enough. There we go. We're moving along. Today on the Star Fantasy League Show, we're talking news on the top of the show. And we are also going to have a little bit of mailbag because so much negativity is going on in sports right now. We need to have some fun. And we're ending the week with a fantasy breakdown of half of the NFL games for Week 3. We are only 1 day away from football again, Zach.
Yes.
Are you almost out of the woods?
I feel pretty good about it, but I don't know how good I feel about this game.
Really? I like it a lot.
Well,
actually.
at least there's some fantasy aspects.
Oh, absolutely.
Well,
I think
actually,
Matt Ryan's in line for a big night.
I think we're doing this a little bit backwards because we do break the slate for Week 3 into two halves, one for today, one for tomorrow. We're not including Thursday night's game today because we're going to review it right before the game tomorrow. That makes sense, right?
You know who we do get to talk about today?
Green Bay.
The Bills.
Oh.
I would also like to say that I am
Bay
pretty pleased with the fact that all the Thursday night games this year are divisional matchups. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I just heard that they did that on purpose. I didn't actually look at the schedule going forward. That makes a lot of sense. I like that scheduling a lot.
It makes it a lot more entertaining than last year's Bills and Browns going at it.
I still don't think it's that great of an idea to do it on Thursday. It's nice that we get to watch football on Thursday, but so many players have said that they don't like that. Well, they don't get to prepare fully for the game.
To be fair, we don't care about the players. We care about Zach being upset that he can't watch football for Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. But now that we have Thursday, he's less upset during the week, right?
Yeah, they make more money off this, so the players are complaining about their own product.
Well,
I don't think that's the argument.
I can see what they are saying by not being able to properly prepare.
Yeah.
But once this was instituted, it was game over. There was no way that people were going to say, "Oh, this wasn't a good idea," because it is a good idea.
Yeah,
it's Thursday night football.
Hold on, wait for it.
Does Thursday night college football even exist anymore? Does anybody care?
Yes, it exists, and people do care.
Oh, people
Do you?
like
I
college
don't care,
football
no.
care. All right, let's stop caring about games. We're going to talk about that game tomorrow night. There's lots of fantasy implications, like we said, but that is tomorrow. Today is Wednesday, and yet again, we're leading off the show with Adrian Peterson talk. This is flip-flopping. Is this the actual definition of a true flip-flop?
If I had a bell, I would be ringing the heck out of it. John figured out what a flip-flop is.
You will. At least I know what a pun is.
Well, that's true.
But the flip-flop has a scapegoat. With the NFL, it was, well, we didn't actually see the knockout punch, so now that we've seen it, we're going to extend his suspension. And the same thing pretty much occurred here with them getting this new line of text messages that came out that there was another potential abuse case.
Yeah, I think that I just don't know if anybody in the NFL has a spine anymore. I really would like to see somebody with a backbone take a stance and stick to it.
Can you send a text or a letter to the NFL asking if they understand what having a spine means? Because it seems like they're just jellyfish. They kind of just whatever happens, they adapt to it.
If they were going to suspend Peterson until the trial or whatever, until the legal system took its toll, then fine. But they flip-flopped. They tried to wait till the dust settled, and then they just said, okay, maybe we're in the clear now. We can go ahead and play our star player. I don't know that I agree with having to suspend him anyways right now, but at the same time, if you're going to take a stance, take a stance.
The decision is with the team. So they can do whatever they want. They have a contract with him. So in some situations, I don't think in this situation they need to pay him.
No. Oh, no, they're paying him.
But they are paying him, but they don't have to. When you're looking at the other case, there's no pictures. We don't know exactly what went on.
Are you referring to Greg Hardy, the other case?
No, I'm talking about Adrian Peterson's
other
trial.
Case isn't okay.
But it's not surprising at all that there was some disciplinary action that might have been in the realm of the same thing that we've already seen here. So the fact that coming out suddenly changes everything is ridiculous. The kid had gashes on him. We saw it. We know, I don't accept it. I think it's way over the line and crazy. But they made a decision on it.
I said this a couple of days ago where I said, we're getting iffy into this territory of telling people how to raise
how you discipline your kid. Yes, I suppose we're getting iffy into that. But when you see that, those are bad wounds. They're not good wounds.
I totally agree.
And if you saw somebody doing that to their child, what would you do?
Yeah, I would probably
You'd be outraged, disgusted.
I don't use those words. I don't say that. I don't. You wouldn't be outraged. I'm not outraged because he's a parent trying to discipline his child. He's trying to show his kid right from wrong. Whether he did that the way that we think is right, that's a different discussion. But he is still a parent trying to teach his kids right from wrong. I would not do that to my child. So, in my opinion, no, that's not the correct way to parent to teach your child. But at the end of the day, we're talking about two totally different cultures. We're talking about the North and the South. That still exists. South of the Mason-Dixon line, they do things a little differently down there.
Can we talk about this?
Well, spanking wouldn't surprise me.
No.
I know, but so it's a fine line. Yeah,
it is a fine line, and I think it was more than clear that the line was crossed.
But the only thing that I think is clear is that Adrian Peterson needs to think of a different way to discipline his child, to teach his child right from wrong. I don't think he is a terrible, terrible human being, and that's why I don't use that word. I'm not outraged at what he did.
All right, can we talk about this from a business standpoint?
I'm outraged by those wounds.
We have to talk about this from a business standpoint because the fact that the Minnesota Vikings came out yesterday and said we're going to reactivate him, we're behind him, all this. And then we see Minnesota Governor Mark Dayton come out and make a statement. Then we see Radisson pull their sponsorship. Nike's pulling their sponsorship of ADP. Do you think that this flip-flop has something to do? And also, Anheuser-Busch, who contributes $1 billion to the NFL, spoke out against
Absolutely.
this. That is what happened.
100%.
I think that the main reason that Adrian Peterson was back on the field is because of the money and because they want to put some semblance of a winning product on the field.
Exactly.
But now that the backlash is coming with them losing sponsorships, they're looking at the money again.
And that's what I mean. I want to see somebody with a backbone make a statement and stick with it.
Yeah, they're going with their bottom line here because, like you said, you want to put a winning product on the field when it helps your bottom line. But when your sponsorship, which ultimately that will affect your bottom line, the biggest of anything. Like TV rights deals are all people care about. If something like that gets hurt because of sponsorship deals, they don't care about one player. It could be the most important player in the NFL. You suspend him in that case. You get rid of him.
Here's my question. At the end of the day, let's say the Vikings did something crazy like cut Adrian Peterson from their roster.
Never happened.
I know that wasn't going to happen, but let's say they did do that. Now what happens? Do you think sponsors are really going to go away forever? Do you think the money's really going to disappear forever? I think the product is bigger than the player. Yep. Adrian Peterson is a big player, as big as they come in the NFL. But at the end of the day, the money was still going to be there. It's not, these sponsors might pull out now, but they're going to be kicking themselves in the butt later when they say, "Oh, you know what? We just pulled away from an NFL team." The NFL is not going to die because one player decided to go.
I think the more appropriate thing would be for sponsors, rather than pulling themselves from the team, pulling away from any sponsorships of Adrian Peterson.
Yeah, that's the thing. Okay, in the Ray Rice situation, Nike pulled their sponsorship from him. Did we hear about anything of pulling sponsorship from the Baltimore Ravens? And the same goes with Greg Hardy. He was actually, earlier today, after the whole Ray Rice thing, Carolina, they deactivated him this weekend. They put him on this commissioner's exempt list along with Adrian Peterson. So where's the backlash against the Carolina Panthers? Why are sponsors not? Why is the governor of Carolina not doing that?
Greg Hardy isn't as big of a name as Adrian Peterson.
Okay,
what they want
that's
to
the
do,
problem. Why does it go by name? Why is it name value?
Is trying to make a statement against this. They're trying to make a statement against the NFL as a whole. They're trying to make this a bigger deal than I think it should be. I think this is a one-track case. You're talking about one player. He did the wrong thing when it came to disciplining his kid. This is not punching your wife in the face.
That's what that might be what Greg Hardy did.
But if a sponsor says, to us, this looks like child abuse. This is not something that we accept. And all of our corporate foundation, the products that we sell, is based on selling to children. Would you not? Are you against somebody wanting to make a statement that they don't accept?
Hold on. The biggest one that spoke out was Anheuser-Busch. What do you have to do with disciplining children?
He's got a point there. But no, I understand what you're saying, and I get where you're going with that. But he hasn't even gone through the legal system. We haven't even seen the end of this entire
his next
thing.
Court case is October 8th, unless they try to push it up. If you're saying wait until this whole thing plays out, and you're Adrian Peterson, aren't you going, let's speed this up, guys?
Well,
come on.
So now wait until Adrian Peterson goes through all the hoops and jumps through all the hoops that he has to, and then watch him never have another incident. Don't you think a sponsor's going to kick themselves in the rear for that?
I think it's a quick action either way.
Absolutely.
I think they got ahead of themselves no matter what, and it's an unfortunate situation. But I bet Ray Rice is pretty happy that he's not getting all the attention.
Yeah, well,
right now.
that's for sure.
Yeah,
I wish it wasn't all driven by the money. I know it's always going.
Yeah, I was going to say, who do you think's more in the wrong? The sponsors for just overreacting, or the team for flip-flopping, for activating him and then reacting to the sponsors?
It's the team. It's ridiculous. You shouldn't be disciplining somebody that has worked very hard for your organization.
He's
and
the only reason they're relevant.
Been the head of your organization for a long time, has never left. Tell him one thing and then take it back.
If I was Adrian Peterson,
the sponsorships can do whatever they want.
Adrian Peterson should be gone. He should say, "I'm out. Free agency. Come on, let's go. I'm out. See you later, Minnesota."
Yeah, that's another thing to talk about with the way he was treated. Who knows what he's going to do now?
If you don't want to sponsor a team, you can go sponsor another team.
That is true. All right, coming up after the break, it is time for something a little bit more positive. We're talking Jonald's Mailbag, and you're listening to the Star Fantasy League show on 105.5 The Team.
The Star Fantasy League show. Information is key to being a successful fantasy team owner, and the guys have all the updated info you need right now. Okay, fantasy sports fans.
There's a letter in your mailbox.
Time to dig into Jonald's mailbag for your questions and comments.
Read the mail, read the mail, read the mail.
Jump in the game. Send your questions and comments to the Star Fantasy League's team by tweeting at SFL Show.
We are back in the Star Fantasy League show, and I'm done disciplining the guy in the cage. He's done. We had to teach him what's what.
Are you sure?
You want more?
Well, he certainly hasn't learned his lesson.
No, actually, he has learned his lesson. He knows the band's back together. He knows how to say our names. He knows what our Twitter handle is, at SFL Show. If you want to be part of the argument or the conversation, it was pretty much an argument last segment about Adrian Peterson and the mishandling and flip-flopping of both the NFL and the teams and the sponsors. I think we
all headed in the same direction.
That's true.
For the most part.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. Okay, we weren't arguing, but we were arguing against what was going on. So some kind of argument.
There's a couple differences.
Yeah, small ones.
Some small differences.
Some
flip-flopping. Some flip-flopping. All right, let's get on the same page, though. We're talking Jonald's Mailbag, and who in this studio doesn't love Jonald's Mailbag?
Well, we certainly know you love it. So it's named after you.
Okay, that is not my name. Who came up with it? Was that you? I think it was you.
Of course it was me.
You also came up with your own nickname and Teddy Bear's nickname.
Well,
so.
I mean, I would like to see Teddy Bear's Fun Time at some point here.
That's really awkward. We should never have
Teddy Bear's Bag of Tricks.
Yeah, please tweet us at SFL Show if you think Teddy Bear's Fun Time should be a segment, because nobody's going to agree to that. It's
you'd
never.
be surprised. Everybody needs a little Teddy Bear fun.
The mailbag usually lives up to its billing.
That is true. All right, we got to get right into it. Don M. writes, with the ridiculous amount of attention given to penalties early on in the NFL season, should the NFL step in when it comes to penalizing petty things like Colin Kaepernick's quote-unquote inappropriate language flag? Did you guys actually see this?
Yeah.
What the heck is going on here?
Well, I mean, they wanted to put an emphasis on getting certain words out of the NFL. They did. They said that before the season.
Okay. The fact that they were going to have an emphasis on like more penalties in general in the preseason, and you saw it was up, I think,
they
close
always
to like 40.
do that.
But it's carried over into the season. Let me give some numbers for you. The average number of penalties on an NFL team last season per team was 6. So far through 2 weeks this season, the average is 8, and there are 10 teams that have 8 or more. Last season, there was only 1 team at 8 per game.
I haven't seen that many things that I've been completely appalled by. I've seen some,
except the end of that game on Monday night.
The
entire
that's
end
fine.
of the game.
But what they did, they missed calls. They didn't call things like the big problem in the preseason was that there were all these defensive pass interference penalties and holding penalties that were being called that were pretty much phantom calls. Mm-hmm. That was the issue, is that they wanted to give the offenses even more wiggle room.
Yep.
And I thought it was ridiculous, but so far from what I've seen, it hasn't been like that.
Yeah, I haven't seen anything too egregious. I haven't seen anything go over the line other than those missed calls. So, I mean, as far as Colin Kaepernick goes, sorry, that's the rule. You got to watch your language on the field now. And he did it right next to a ref. So this whole, what did I say thing, I just don't buy it.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of plays so far where a cornerback and a receiver, they've let them play on the field. In regards to Kaepernick, this is just like, if he's saying things that damage the shield.
The shield's already pretty damaged right now.
Of course it is, but if if he's on the sidelines and you're being okay with this stuff, you have tons of fans that are close to the players on the sidelines and they're dropping the N-word or, just letting things fly, letting homophobic slurs fly. That's not good for the league. So I completely support the fact that they want to crack down on that. If he was dropping F-bombs and just going off on somebody else, then that's one thing. But I highly doubt that was the case because we never see this called.
Wait, wrong. We've heard it's called one time in the history of the NFL. It was when a player, I think it was an offensive lineman for St. Louis, accidentally walked by the ref who was making a penalty call while his microphone was on. You could hear him yell the F word. So they basically were like, well, you just yelled it over the studio like microphone or speakers. We have to penalize. That's the only time I've ever seen it called.
Well, this is something that I also support for the NFL because they're at least trying to get ahead of an issue. Normally, they take the reactive stance like we've seen.
What did he
Ray
say?
Rice
Oh, no.
Yeah. So they're actually trying to get ahead of this. So this is actually a positive for me. They're trying to be a leader. They're trying to show that this is not acceptable in their community. This is not the kind of community that they want to put together. So I like it. I'm okay
and all that they
this.
went through after the incognito issues to say, hey, coaches need to step up, organizations need to step up to not allow this to go on in the locker rooms, then it absolutely shouldn't be going on the field.
Yeah, how much control do they have? They don't have any control in the locker room. They don't have anybody policing the locker room, and no coach is going to rat out his players in the locker room. So the only place that they can do it is on the field.
So you're telling me Richard Sherman is saying 100% PG things when he's trash-talking everybody in the secondary?
Well, certainly until a ref is within earshot, he's
Well, you can certainly give them a warning in the locker room that you don't accept that kind of language. I mean, the coaches...
That's not going to stop
Yeah, but you know what?
them.
If I was a coach, I'd let the locker room be the locker room. That's kind of like a safe haven for players. But at the same time, if something like Richie Incognito and Jonathan Martin is going on, you have to try to notice that stuff. But as far as the language in the locker room, that's the locker room, and I just don't know if you overstep that boundary.
Well, what if you got 10 players on your team that are very uncomfortable with somebody dropping constant
Okay, that's a different story. If there's an issue in the locker room, that's fine.
But don't you think there's the potential for that constantly?
No, they aren't children. These aren't children. Oh, the F-bomb got dropped. I'm really uncomfortable.
I'm not talking about the F-bomb.
Obviously, I mean, I know what you're talking about. But I think that the NFL, at least, is doing the right thing by getting out in front of the problem on the field.
I'm guessing that he said something he shouldn't have.
That may be likely. All right, let's move on. Jim H. writes, despite their 4-game lead in the NL West, it appears the LA Dodgers aren't one big happy family. A dugout altercation between Yasiel Puig and Matt Kemp was caught on tape during Monday's blowout win. Is clubhouse dysfunction going to prevent the Dodgers from winning it all?
Not at all. Not at all.
They have the okay. Do they have the most talented team in the NL? Probably.
Yeah, and they have the best pitcher in the game right now. Next to Felix Hernandez. Just wanted to throw that in there.
Nope, nobody's. Agreed.
No, yeah, I know, but I have to make sure that I stay so that I don't flip flop. You know what I'm saying?
The past couple seasons, that has been kind of an argument, but Clayton Kershaw is clearly he's the guy.
No. But anyways,
seriously?
Anyways, no, I don't think that this affects the Dodgers at all. I think that this is actually good for the Dodgers because the players are actually policing themselves. Yasiel Puig is one of the worst base runners for the talent level that he has in the game.
You can remove worst base runner and just replace worst like. He just doesn't seem like a he doesn't seem like a baseball player. Like he doesn't do it right.
He has all the physical talents to do it, but he doesn't have the baseball brain. So Matt Kemp was just doing what he thought was right and saying, you should have ran that extra base or you should have done something different here. And because you're not even listening to me, you're not even paying attention to me, I'm going to get in your face. And I think that's totally positive. I think that they're trying to do the right thing by each other. I don't think that there's such an issue that Yasiel Puig and Matt Kemp aren't going to be able to play in the same field together.
Well, that's not the question I have here. It's why do we keep hearing about Yasiel Puig and issues? Why, was he not raised on baseball? Is he a guy who's fairly new to the game? Is this what we're doing with here?
I got to choose my words a little bit carefully here.
He's a baby?
Latin American players play with a little bit more fire, and they don't play the game in I guess you could say the American sense where we think about technicalities. When the way that we played baseball growing up, we think about I got to run to third on this play. I got to run home on this play. For them, it's more of a physical thing, and he's obviously a physical specimen. He just plays the game a little bit differently. I think you could draw that comparison.
I think you can go across the board with just how the Central American game is played.
Yeah, and it's not to say it's the wrong way to play. It's just a different way to play.
It's very athletically based.
So is that why someone like Mike Trout, who has the exact same physical gifts as a baseball player, seems to not have these problems because he grew up playing the game the right way as opposed to a guy who...
But see, I wouldn't say the right way.
Okay,
that's what I'm saying.
Sorry, the way that we currently see it, that we grew up with, that it's you got to do everything right, you got to cover the bases, you got to run the bases right.
You got to remember,
you got to hustle every
time. In DR, this is probably old hat. This is how they play.
So it's basically just the way you're raised on the game is what we're saying here.
Yeah, it's the major league is a melting pot of players of all different backgrounds and nationalities.
And he needs to get it. And I think that when you have coaches come in and managers come in and say one thing, and then you actually have the players getting involved in the situation, that has much more of an impact when you have people that say, hey, this is how we do things here, and you need to know that. I don't think this is going to separate the team at all. But I do think, I will say in recent years, I think that the Dodgers have been a talent-laden roster that hasn't really come together as a team.
Yeah, they should be there every year. They definitely spend the money to be there every year. It's just it doesn't seem to come together in October. That's the problem.
That is a problem. But I mean, they can rest pretty heavily on that pitching staff this year.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens.
All right, let's get to the last question in the mailbag. Carlos D. writes, Jameis Winston is making headlines again, this time for shouting an obscene remark on the FSU campus and receiving a 1/2 penalty for Saturday's game. Is this kid just too immature?
This is such a cop-out by Florida State, by the way.
Okay, this exact same thing happened with Johnny Manziel. Remember when he was suspended for the first half of the first game? What was this, his sophomore season, something like that?
This is just so that if Florida State finds themselves in the hole in the first half, they have a fail-safe ready for the second half. It's a bunch of crap. If you're going to punish the kid, punish the kid. Suspend him for a game.
I'm sorry here, but why are we suspending a kid for yelling an obscene remark? That's literally...
he did it in public and he made a scene of it. Okay. That's a different story.
So are you completely against fractional penalties? Because we've seen this a bunch of times in the NFL. We saw it. Bill Belichick did it. I can't remember whether it was Welker.
But that's self-discipline.
I just don't think you send any message. You don't really send a message.
This kid's going to be making...
First half?
Yeah.
The heck does that do?
What does it do to him in general? Like, he's going to be going to the NFL regardless. Like, this isn't going to hurt his prospects. He just yelled at him. Okay.
Well, or either that, or maybe not even suspend him for a half at all. Maybe just make him do a crap ton of community service or something.
Yeah, I don't know. Make him do like a PSA against being a scumbag in public. I don't know.
He's too valuable to this team and just the college in general that anything is going to happen to them, and that's what happens to these large scale NFL prospects, these stars in college. They drive so much money. Winning in college drives so much money that it's so hard to corral them into doing the right thing, because you're going to be forced by the higher ups, much higher up than just the coach, to say, This guy is our product, and he needs to be on the field.
Whether you like it or not, you are going to become a role model for everybody that watches football around the world. And you can't do that. You just can't do that stuff. You cannot be a normal 19, 20, 21-year-old kid.
Well,
you just can't.
This is how abnormal he is. He's getting getting in trouble for stealing crab legs. He got the cops called on him once at Burger King because he, quote-unquote, stole soda. Literally, the cops got called at an incident at a Burger King.
That sounds pretty.
Do you think if he wasn't the if he wasn't the FSU quarterback, they'd just been like, some stupid kid stealing soda? Like, people do that.
Crab legs.
Wait, how do you steal soda from a?
It's probably one of those things where like they grabbed a water cup and got soda instead of putting water in the cup. That's something like that. They got the cops called on him. Can you believe this?
Sounds like you know how to finagle the system there, John.
I'm not going to comment on what I was just going to say because it probably would get me thrown off the air.
He's going to keep running into issues.
I
guarantee it.
Yeah.
I feel like eventually he's got to get it.
When?
He's got to. He doesn't have a choice. He's going to be the number one pick in the NFL draft if he keeps on the right path.
So you're just saying if he keeps doing what he's doing, he's going to figure it out? I don't think he's going to figure it out.
No, somebody's got to say to this kid,
hit him in the head.
Stop. Just stop.
All right.
Just stop it.
Players with character issues get drafted all the time.
That is very true, and he's going to continue. All right, coming after the break, we don't have character issues. It's time to break down fantasy for Week 3 in the NFL season. And you're listening to the Star Fantasy League Show on 105.5 The Team.
Play fantasy sports for cash prizes. Join the top daily and weekly fantasy leagues in the country at starfantasyleagues.com. Now, back to the Star Fantasy League Show with Donald, Teddy Bear 2, and the Deucey Moose. Only on the Team.
We are back on the Star Fantasy League Show, and it is time to start talking about Week 3 of the NFL season because we can't start talking about it on Friday. You got to start on Wednesday. Come on now.
Got to get ahead of the game.
Yeah, we're always ahead of the game on the Star Fantasy League Show, right? We have to be.
Waivers processed today for most leagues.
Yeah.
So we got that. We had that covered in the first 2 days. Now we got to get ready for the weekend, baby.
Yeah, that is true. If you're not thinking ahead, you're falling behind.
I'm kind of surprised that some of the people that we play against don't listen to this show and kind of pick up on what we're doing. I don't mask anything. I had the 4th pick on the waiver wire, and the guy that had the 1st pick had Jamal Charles. All he had to do was pick up Niall Davis, and he didn't. And I got Niall Davis.
Who did he pick up? Nobody?
He picked up Bobby Rainey.
That's embarrassing. Didn't we specifically say Bobby Rainey was a landmine? Doug Martin practiced this week.
I'm literally giving you the ways to beat me here.
Although, hold on.
Why aren't they listening?
Hold on. Let's backtrack here a little because who was your top pickup on the waiver wire this week?
What do you mean?
You said Kyrie Robinson.
Kyrie Robinson, yeah.
But did you pick up Kyrie Robinson?
He wasn't available.
Oh, so you had him as your number 1, and then
guess who I picked up?
Kyrie Robinson.
Brian, no. Yeah, Brian Quick.
No, before that.
Oh, Larry Donnell.
Oh,
Larry
Donnell.
Did you really? You picked up my boy Larry Donnell?
Oh yeah,
the Donnell Express.
Well, Nick's trying to trade me a tight end, which I need, but I think I might have my solution.
No.
Eli Manning can't throw the ball 8 feet. We're getting way ahead of ourselves here. We're off track. We got to get into this. We're talking about 8 of the 16 games today, including pretty much all of the early slate minus 2 games. But we have to start where everybody starts in Western New York with the Buffalo Bills. San Diego's in town. This could end up being one of the more entertaining games of the day.
3-0. 3-0.
I can't wait. I'm very excited to be back at the Ralph for this one.
Are you able to put your feelings of the Bills aside and actually predict this game?
I think the Bills are going to win.
So that's a no.
Yeah, there you go.
No, I honestly think they're going to win as well. I just like what they have going on defensively. I think that the stadium is going to keep playing a huge role right now.
Shout.
It's going to keep playing a huge role. So,
shout.
Yeah. I mean, the Chargers, they don't look bad. They beat the Seahawks. They certainly know how to beat a defense.
And they should have won week 1 as well.
They're technically playing a 10 a.m. game for them?
That's what I've said that a million times. Usually West Coast teams going across the country for an early game is recipe for disaster. They just don't play as well.
No, I totally agree. So I think that I would like to see a little bit more continuity from the Bills' offense. Keep getting Sammy Watkins involved. Figure out how to utilize each of your running backs because I really don't know that. I'm not even sure if Doug Marrone knows what a running back does right now, even though this team is supposed to be one of the best rushing teams in the league.
All right.
What is that supposed to mean?
I don't understand what he's doing with Fred Jackson when he's literally running draw plays the entire game. I don't get that. He's not a finesse
I didn't
back.
really understand that either. But the first game, they just absolutely torched Chicago on the run.
That
with
is true.
Every back that they had.
All right, so
they're
do that
terrible,
then.
though. All right, can we talk about this from a fantasy perspective real quick? The only guys I really have written down, I don't have anybody from Buffalo written down here. San Diego's defense has actually been pretty decent this year. Buffalo's defense has as well, but when you see Donald Brown on StarFantasy.com at 37-36, he's going to get the majority of the carries. I think he's going to end up putting some kind of productive performance together that definitely warrants that value.
I don't. I think the Bills are going to stuff the heck out of their run game.
Even if, let's say he gets 24 touches total in this game. I don't even care
Think
how
he's going to get 20,
I don't think he's getting
20
touches.
touches.
I don't think he's getting that many touches.
Who else is getting the touches?
Danny Woodhead.
Danny Woodhead is not the lead runner.
I think the Chargers are going to be playing from behind and they're going to throw the ball. So I don't think Donald Brown gets that many touches. I don't think they're going to be running the ball a whole lot.
All right.
I think for Donald Brown to make value, he's going to, make legitimate value, especially in a daily GPP where you need as many points as you can get. He's going to have to get in the end zone.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
I can't guarantee that.
All right, then anybody you're interested in this game at all?
I think Keenan Allen's worth a look. He hasn't really busted out yet, and some of the top receivers have had decent games against the Buffalo Bills so far. So I think he's a reasonable option, especially since his value's dipped a little bit.
What about Gatesy, just under 11,000? He's been on fire this season. It looks like he is finally realizing Ladarius Green's kind of creeping up behind him.
I can't remember what Martellus Bennett did, but Charles Clay was almost non-existent in that game.
I think Gates is a sell-high candidate at this point, honestly,
okay.
Overall. So
just had to ask. All right, let's move on. Another game to talk about. Dallas will have back Orlando Scandrick. We didn't talk about it today. We'll probably talk about it tomorrow with the reinstatements for the new testing policies in the NFL. So that defense hasn't looked as bad as we thought it would. And with Orlando Scandrick coming back, is anybody in this game really standing out for you? Are you sticking by Brian Quick?
I think that Brian Quick should have a solid game. I think that there's a good chance that Zach Stacy has a good game. I think there are a lot of players in play in this.
Yeah, I think DeMarco Murray is my number one running back for the week.
St. Louis's defense, their front seven. Last year they were incredible. I think it was they were a top 10 defense, right? Or 11 or something like that.
They were still up there, but DeMarco Murray's been on fire, and St. Louis hasn't stopped anybody. So I love Murray. I think he should be your number one play for running back.
Really?
Yeah.
You're gonna go as far as saying?
I have him as my number one running back.
He's He's definitely the number one priced running back on StarFantasy.com.
And I think he's warranting that right now. And I think at some point you might want to sell high on him as well because I think you can get a huge return for him.
And that creeping injury bug will probably hit him at some point.
Exactly.
All right. I have anything else written down for this game? No, it's probably one of those kind of grab one guy and move on type games. All right, perfect.
I mean, I would give Des Bryant a look, too, because...
Well, you can always give him a look.
Yeah, that's true. He's expensive.
That being said, I have him in my top 3 for this week.
Yeah.
So.
Yep. All right, let's move on to a game where I think we're going to have quite a few players to talk about. I actually have 8 players written down, if you can believe this.
Really?
Washington and Philadelphia. It has one of the highest over-unders I'm seeing on this early slate so far. It's 50.5 points. It's the second highest in the early games so far. I honestly think... neither of these teams is really adept at stopping people. Great, Washington stopped Jacksonville last week. Congratulations.
No, I do like some of the Redskins here. I'd love Pierre Garçon in this game.
Especially, Deshaun Jackson claimed in the media today he's definitely playing, which usually means I'm going to give it a shot, but probably not.
Yeah, I don't put a lot of stock into what players say about their injury status. I actually really like Alfred Morris for this game. I know he's kind of middle of the road as far as the price line goes, but he actually hasn't looked too bad. I thought he was going to look a lot worse. The Eagles don't know how to stop the run. We saw a committee of Ahmad Bradshaw and Trent Richardson just scamper all over this defense on Monday night.
Yeah, and we can't discount the nice connection that Kirk Cousins and Niles Paul had together. If you're looking to save a little bit of money and you're not going the Larry Donnell route, you have to go Niles Paul under $8,000 at tight end. I actually like that value.
But is Jordan Reed going to be coming back? I know he's still questionable.
It doesn't look good.
What's the point of rushing a guy back who has concussion issues?
Yeah.
That's not smart. I mean, that's what I'm saying. All these take it with a grain of salt. If Deshaun Jackson plays, it might change things a little bit, especially with Pierre Garçon. But Pierre Garçon at 11,000 right now is an absolute no-brainer.
Yeah, and the Redskins haven't really run into that much in terms of the running game. They got to play Jacksonville last week. Who was it the week before?
For Washington, they played Houston.
And Arian Foster had a pretty good game in that one. So I still think LaShawn McCoy is the top running back overall this week. That's my belief.
I'm okay with that. He is 17,000. Darren Sproles is still an absolute option under 10. These are 9,200 right now.
McCoy crushed Washington twice last year.
Yep,
he crushed them.
All right, let's move on to a game that's going to be just horrible to watch. I hope nobody actually has to watch this game. Houston and the Giants.
Wow, horrible to watch.
This is going to be horrible to watch. Eli's going to get crushed in this game.
Yeah, well, maybe.
Yeah, my number one pick from this game is the Houston defense. I'm not even kidding.
Not a bad pick at all. Yeah, I mean, I think that you could see probably 4 or 5 sacks from that defense. So definitely a good call there. I love Arian Foster against this Giants defense. The Giants just don't look good on defense at all.
He had the biggest salary rise I've seen. Last week he was a value play at $11,500. He's up to $15,000 this week.
Yeah, and Andre Johnson, because the Giants, they lost Thurman. And he wasn't any good to start with, so whoever they had behind him is even worse.
Yep.
Their secondary is just terrible.
We saw what Calvin Johnson did to them in the first game. There's a very good chance that Andre Johnson has his best game so far this season. From the Giants' perspective, everybody, even if somebody does well, even if Cruz does well, you're going up against the Texans defense. The performance is going to be so middling you don't have a lot of upside choosing.
Larry Donnell, he was around 4,000 on Star Fantasy. He's doubled that now. He's around 70-something hundred. So I would personally rather go with a guy like Niles Paul, who has more upside.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on. What do you guys think about Ryan Fitzpatrick? Anything in that game?
Not a bad pick. He could be a value QB. I mean, the Giants, like I said, their defense is nothing. They don't have a defense right now.
Yes, they are devoid of a. Here's actually a game where I might be interested in a value quarterback. Minnesota and New Orleans. That is a 50 over/under. New Orleans is a huge favorite. I think because Minnesota is going to be so far behind in this game, and interceptions are so middling as a negative on StarFantasy.com. I think we could see Matt Castle and or Teddy Bridgewater being a value pick.
Well, yeah, but you can't count on – I don't know if you can count on either of them because Bridgewater might be called in halfway through the game.
Okay, that's what I'm saying.
Keeps throwing picks.
Yeah, don't put one of these guys in until you see either way that, like, if Bridgewater is starting, I might consider putting him in. I'm not even kidding.
But he's probably not going to be starting.
Why not? Castle looked so atrocious in the last game.
They probably would have said that already. I mean, there hasn't been a lot of buzz about it happening.
That is true.
You would think that they'd be preparing for that situation if that were to be the case. And Nick's right. At any moment, this could be. I'm looking at the Saints as my potential survivor pick this week because this could be an absolute blowout.
It could.
And in that situation, we could definitely see them start trying out Bridgewater. They're without Peterson again. This season is pretty much it's done. In the tank.
All right, but there's got to be some kind of bright spot on this Minnesota team because they have a lot of value. Matty Asiata, you interested in him at all?
Not so much him. I am interested in Kyrie Robinson because Stephen Ridley just ran for 100 yards against this defense last week. So I think Kyrie just under 6,000. Yeah, I think that's a great value play.
But the rest of this team
what did Asiata? I mean,
he had one touchdown.
Yeah, he had a touchdown, but he was wide open.
Right, he's not going to just be a constant threat in the passing game. He never has been when he's gotten his chances.
All the Browns ran.
And what was he, 13 for 26 on the ground or something like that?
The Browns did run all over this New Orleans team last week. Terrence West had a pretty good game. Crowell had a good game as well. Yeah. So I don't know. I don't think it's the worst value in the world. But yeah, when you see Kyrie Robinson a little bit more expensive, definitely worth it.
I just think you're going to see more people playing Asiata than you will Kyrie.
That may be right, yeah.
So your GPP play, I think Robinson is a better play. Or Pierre Thomas. Both guys could do well.
I would stay away from the rest of this team, though. Not all of them, but I think Breeze at 20,000 is too high because the quarterbacks, there's so little difference in points between like the middling guys and the top guys that I'd rather go with somebody around 14 to 17K as opposed to going for 20K guys.
Yeah, yes. I'd agree.
And then Jimmy Graham is just almost at 17,000. Again, tight end position's pretty deep behind him. You're not going to get the huge games, but I would go for something more consistent.
He's dictating that salary, though. That's for sure.
Yes, he is.
He's living up to that first-round billing.
All right, what about Brandon Cooks? I love Brandon Cooks.
I like Brandon Cooks this week a lot.
Yeah. No? I think under 11,000.
And welcome back again, Kenny Stills. It's good to see you on the field. Good luck.
Except we're not going to pick you whatsoever. Not happening. All right, coming after the break, we're going to break down the last 3 games on the early slate. And you're listening to the Star Fantasy League show on 105.5 The Team.
You're listening to the Star Fantasy League show. Contact the StarFantasyLeagues.com guys via Twitter at SFL Show.
All right, we're back on the Star Fantasy League show, and we are still breaking down the early slate of Week 3 NFL games from a fantasy perspective.
Nick's been nagging me about Brandon Cooks.
Yeah, why? Why are you fighting?
Because before the season, neither of you were on that
well,
train.
before the
you
season,
both hated him.
before the season, I didn't anticipate Kenny Stills being injured.
Okay, he's back.
Well, he wasn't fully healthy when he got back in last
Listen,
week.
Ingram being out is not going to have any effect on the passing game.
All right, if you guys are worried about your season-long teams and all these things going on, just play daily fantasy football on starfantasyleagues.com with the bonus code FREE14, FREE14, 100% deposit bonus to $2,000.
I'm worried about both.
I've
got concerns about both.
All right, let's stop being worried about New Orleans Saints because we're not talking about that game anymore. Let's move on to Tennessee and Cincinnati. Cincinnati's look like a team that could potentially be one of the best teams in the AFC this season.
Yeah, well, it's time to see if Andy Dalton can actually be a franchise quarterback
without
A.J. Green.
A real quarterback.
Yeah.
It looks like A.J. Green won't play. He's kind of been held out of practice for obvious reasons. But
Turto, they should let him rest.
Tick, Gio. Bump him up a notch.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Okay, if you're looking at my sheet right now, it says Gio Bernard, go, go, go.
Yeah,
and that's for good reason.
He's the other guy that definitely has a shot flying slightly under the radar. Not really at this point, but compared to the top guys, to have the top week, to be the top guy this week, going up against the Titans defense that got torched
terrible
by your mentioned DeMarco Murray.
I have them at number 3. I have him at number 3 this week.
Yeah.
I'm really curious. Where do you have Jeremy Hill? Because I think both of these guys could absolutely go off.
Sure. Yeah. I wouldn't put him in a lineup because you're just not sure.
He got Gio got 30 touches last week.
Yeah.
Sure, Jeremy Hill could get some production, but if you're in a GPP and you're looking to get value, if you're going for a value spot, if you're going for a value play, you need much more upside, I would think, than Jeremy Hill provides.
Isn't it like a 3-1 split?
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah. So
owners of Gio Bernard last season are going, where the hell was this? Where was this?
This is second.
But this is
Hugh Jackson. We said it all the time before the season. Hugh Jackson running coach.
We're high on Mohamed Sanu this week too, right? 72, 75?
Definitely.
Gotta be.
Yeah, definitely some value there. He's going to be the guy. He's shown what he's capable of doing before, and Andy Dalton trusts him.
Yep. All right, we got to talk about this game because I don't think anything interests me at all. Baltimore and Cleveland. This is going to be a crap fest.
Yeah.
I honestly was stretching to put people on here. Ben Tate maybe.
Yeah, no, you know
playing.
What?
I don't really know.
Flacco never has really great games against Cleveland. This is in Cleveland. Cleveland's been playing well, which we didn't really expect. I'm not going to touch this one.
What is it? Do we know what Andrew Hawkins is at?
Andrew Hawkins is at 76-68. Yeah.
Might be.
I'd rather have.
Might be worth a look.
I'd rather have Mohamed Sanu for less money. Much rather have Mohamed
Sanu.
Sanu.
Yeah, that's true.
This game is abysmal.
Yeah, we're moving on from this game. Last game on the slate before we close it out is Green Bay, your Green Bay Packers, at Detroit, which has the highest over-under of the early slate.
Man, Eddie Lacy gets 3 top 10 rushing defenses in 3 weeks. That's just crap.
And his value is amazing, 12,600. He might be an under-the-radar look.
I don't know. I wouldn't do it. It's just I think Aaron Rodgers is in play. I think Aaron Rodgers is going to be a stud this week.
Okay, so I just said that
What about Matthew Stafford?
I just said don't go for the 20. Don't go over 20,000 quarterbacks, and they're both at 20,000.
You can pick a bunch of players out of this game. I really like Reggie Bush, who's had a couple down weeks and absolutely torched the Packers last year.
Yep.
And Calvin Johnson loves to play the Packers, especially at home.
You went for everybody that I didn't have. I personally am interested in Golden Tate and Joik Bell, who aren't. Yeah, I like Joik Bell.
I think Joik and Reggie Bush are both in play.
We're putting the whole Detroit team in. Against your Packers.
Yeah, well, the Packers' defense is horrible. The Packers are still going to win because their offense is amazing. But
all right,
what's what happens when you're giving up a ton of points to the Jets? You're going to put some of those players in for the
Yeah, don't worry, they'll score 45.
I figured that might happen. Play daily fantasy football on starfantasyleagues.com with the bonus code FREE14, 100% deposit bonus, all the way up to $2,000, and you get an $11 credit right into your account. And if you don't think the Green Bay defense is one of the worst in the league, you are wrong.
What do you want me to say to that?
Take it easy, guys.